Welcome back to another episode of I Can Do This All Day. I'm Dan the Part-Time Adventurer. That's Mark the Resident Jedi.
Hello there. Today, we're going to take a bite out of breakfast. We're going to talk about a new movie. It's new, and we didn't have to go to a theater for it, which is awesome. And it has a cast list that is longer than I don't even know what. But it's long. It's long. It's long. We're talking about the new Jerry Seinfeld brainchild, Unfrosted.
Unfrosted. Why are we watching this movie? I don't really know 100% certain. All I know is that there's very few movies that are coming out in theaters that we want to go and see. So that's why we're here. Is it fair to say that you're a Seinfeld fan, barring any, recent opinions on his stuff? Did you like the TV show? Did you like his comedy?
First of all, you sound so excited. One, I'll tell you why I watch this movie. Yes, absolutely love Seinfeld. Seinfeld over Friends all day long. More
I
power
agree.
to Seinfeld. And I'm just a big breakfast cereal fan. Like, I grew up as a latchkey kid. There was multiple cereals and Toaster Pastry Wonder. So it hits on many of the things that bring me joy and girth.
Fair enough. And I would say that I liked Seinfeld. I got into Seinfeld pretty late, but I did enjoy all the reruns, and I did catch, I think, the last two seasons pretty regularly. And yeah, Seinfeld, I don't necessarily think he himself is the funniest person out of that cast, but it's just the ensemble. And that's something that this movie definitely has, is an ensemble cast with a bunch of very talented comedians, some questionable comedians, SNL cast members and everything. So it was really, when I saw like the premise of it, I was like, okay, well, this could be interesting. And I saw like the first, 30-second clip from the Netflix kind of trailer-ish. And I was like, okay, Jim Gaffigan's in it. Love him. This is going to be like a comedy satire type of thing. Okay, I'm down for it. I was actually pretty stoked about it, but at the same time, Hollywood, what the fuck, man? There's no good movies coming out.
Yeah.
Just nothing.
I think the nice thing is we knew about Jerry's cereal obsession from way back when. And while Netflix has brought us some stinkers, right? Rebel Moon, and things that are just way too long and just need to just be half as long. It also gives opportunity to for ownership to get a Jerry Seinfeld to put together a movie, which I don't think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, if he's ever done before. I don't think he's done full screenplay and acted in anything but his own show and Curb. Like, other than Curb and Seinfeld, I don't even know if he did like Ricky Gervais's extra show. He hosts Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, but I don't know that you've ever seen Jerry play anybody that's not named Jerry.
I don't think we've ever wanted to, though, if you think about it. And that's not even like a slight against him. It's just we want Seinfeld, the show, or we want Jerry Seinfeld as a stand-up comedian. And that's kind of, I've never been like, oh man, I sure could go for a Jerry Seinfeld movie right now. Like, never.
He does not have that Adam Sandler appeal. I agree. I definitely agree. I think that I think we all know who the most flexible and just charismatic group of that, or person from that original Seinfeld cast is. She's been in a million different things and just ass kicked them all in Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
You don't think so? You don't think George would be the one?
I love me some George. I've had me some summers of George. I identify with that character. I don't know that Jason Alexander has had the career that Julia Louis-Dreyfus has, and I don't know that he's as versatile.
I think just because of...
He's probably number two.
With Julia Louis-Dreyfus and Veep, I think that maybe pushes her over the edge over George.
And she did a fair amount of movies. I watched Julia Louis-Dreyfus every Christmas in Christmas Vacation.
Yeah.
right?
Maybe you're right. Maybe she probably has done a whole lot more, and she has like the I don't I have a hard time saying versatile because I feel like she's the same person in everything. But yeah, I don't disagree with it. I'm not trying to make a debate. This is early in the episode, and they're
So,
not even in this TV show or movie that we watched. So yeah, I guess too early for debate. Too early
man,
for
way to
debate.
call out one of my gripes with this. Zero Seinfeld cameos. What the hell, Jerry?
But some Seinfeld Easter eggs. Xanthan. Oh man. But so before we get into this stuff, so this is about Pop Tarts and the Kellogg and post war between the two. Let's just talk about the simplistic aspect of Pop Tarts. So what is your Pop Tart origin story? Did you eat it a lot as a kid? Did you what about as an adult? Tell me. We all want to know.
I mean, I grew up on Pop Tarts. I love me some Pop Tarts. So many good ones, except the ones that don't have frosting on them. They're the worst. And people who like the ones without frosting, I don't know that I trust. I think there's something wrong with them. But aside from that, have you ever put butter on a Pop Tart?
No.
It is so freaking good, or at least that's what they said on Family Guy.
Yeah, I don't I could see why it would be good, but yeah,
Mhm.
never did it. I would
Like you
imagine
taste
that
this.
it's just making it more rich and it tastes butter.
I
So
mean, it's got to be solid. What about you? Are you a Pop Tart fan?
So I had very limited exposure to Pop Tarts when I was growing up because growing up in a Filipino household, my mom did not want to pay for something that we were just paying for the packaging. I think I got lucky with Pop Tarts because I saw kids bringing it to lunch and in eating Pop Tarts. I was like, oh, what's that? And I was like, oh, those are Pop Tarts. I was like, oh, those are those cool things on the commercials that my mom never buys me. And so I was like, okay, well, I think I could jockey this in my favor. So I said, hey, kids are bringing Pop Tarts for lunch. I think I would eat those because I never really got anything for lunch. So I kind of said that as like, hey, if you get me Pop Tarts, I'll eat those for lunch. And so it happened, but it didn't. So it wasn't Pop Tarts. It was like the Aldi version of Pop Tarts. And guess what? No frosting. Because that was my first exposure to them, I kind of forced myself to like them. And I was like, why do people like these things? These things taste like shit. And not realizing that, like, oh, the frosting totally makes it a million times better.
Absolutely.
So then there was like a stretch where like my mom kept on buying that shit. And I was like, I don't like these. These aren't even Pop Tarts. These are pastry squares, whatever the fuck the generic name was. And so after that, I was just like kind of off Pop Tarts until about I want to say maybe 15 years later. One of my coworkers would bring in Pop Tarts, toss it into the little toaster oven at work, and they'd eat those. I was like, "Holy shit, are those Pop Tarts?" And us being full grown adults and him being the snacking of a 12-year-old child was like, yeah, they're awesome. And so I was like, hey, do you mind if I have one of those? Like, let me just try a little bit of them because I'd never had a Pop Tart with frosting. And so I'm like 20 something at that point, and I eat it, and I was like, oh, yeah, these are so much better. So at that time, I had money of my own, and I would buy Pop Tarts for myself, but nothing crazy. So I kind of have like a love-hate relationship with Pop Tarts and the whole pastry square or rectangle dessert slash breakfast food.
You have so much Pop Tarts baggage. It's not even funny.
It's
You
not,
have a.
I don't know if it's the Pop Tart baggage as so much as
We're
parental
gonna call it.
baggage.
I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm just gonna call it Pop Tart baggage because I want
Yeah.
to. Do you have a favorite flavor or offering of the rectangular pastry?
I do prefer strawberry, and I do buy Pop Tarts fairly often for my boys
Mhm.
because I don't want them to have that same. I don't want them to have a podcast 30 years down the road telling people that their dad and mom didn't buy them shit and they have an awful relationship with food. So yeah, I buy them for them. Absolutely. And
I
usually it's like the little the variety packs.
no, look at you, variety packing it up. You buy the little mini cereal variety pack too?
We did buy the cereal once. Eh,
Yeah, no,
not
just
great.
what you like. Get what you like. I want to talk about both. So you're a strawberry frosted guy.
Yes.
I'm 100% maple brown sugar.
Ooh, you're a Jerry Seinfeld. That's his favorite flavor.
The maple brown sugar Pop Tart,
Yeah.
it's because it's perfect. It is wonderful.
Or maybe you know what? Maybe it's cinnamon brown sugar. I don't know if it's maple. Is there
It
a
might
maple
be
one too?
cinnamon. I don't know. It's the brown one with the brown sugar. It's great.
Okay.
It's
All right.
delightful.
I've had it
There's
before. It's fine.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's all
yeah.
right.
Um, but we digress. This movie has so much cereal reference in it. Are you also a cereal fan, or were you denied good cereal as a child? Did people give you grape nuts and bran flakes from Aldi, and you're not able to experience the wonders of the back of the box and the prizes in the box as a
So
kid?
that's debatable. It depends on your point of view as to if I had a bad experience with cereal.
Were you like a Malto
Um,
meal kid?
no, no. Most of the cereal that I would get would be okay. So let me put it from this perspective. If I got berry kicks, I would be so fucking happy.
Kix,
And
heavily underrated cereal. I'll
berry
just say,
kicks specifically,
yeah, yeah.
but kicks was like what I usually got. So I never got like good cereal. Like usually it would just be like plain Cheerios and
Oh,
Kix and like yes, there would be honey nut Cheerios in there and occasionally like the apple cinnamon honey nut Cheerios would or the apple cinnamon Cheerios would be there.
yes.
But I was never like, oh man, cereal's the best. I'm like anyone who's like, I sometimes I'll just have cereal for dinner. Like, go fuck yourself. Like seriously, like what type of poverty did you grow up in that you
Why are you gonna
need to
tell me
have
to go
cereal
fuck
for dinner?
myself, bro? I just like cereal. What's up
um,
with that?
I kind of had a feeling you do you really like eat
I
cereal for dinner
enjoy
though?
cereal. I not so
Yeah.
much for dinner, but I'll do like lunch. I'll just grab a bowl of cereal if I'm feeling it, right? Or if I feel like,
Yeah.
oh, I want something a little sweet, but whatever. I'll rock some cereal. I'm starting to get my kid into it. He really likes Apple Jacks. That's the first breakthrough for us. He doesn't put milk on his cereal though.
Good for
He's like
him.
he's like I'll eat it, and he finds it really funny to then take a drink of milk. He's like, I'm mixing it in my mouth. So
Supposedly that's like the freshest bite of cereal is if you do it that way. But I was never like a big milk person to begin with, so I would always eat my cereal dry. Still to this day, I'll pour cereal into a cup if I have like a red solo cup or something like that, and then I'll just eat my cereal that way. I've done that so many times commuting to work. Yeah, that's just my thing. Like I don't like the whole spooning cereal. Like, sure, does it taste nice? Whatever, whatever. But I just like the taste of the cereal. Milk does nothing for me unless you're putting like ice cream with the cereal or something where there's like milk in that. Then I'll understand it. But no, milk does not enhance anything for me. I'm perfectly fine without it.
way to use dairy only for gluttony.
Hey, and it's I only use it for when it's good on pizza, pasta, and in ice cream.
Let me ask you this then. What's your go-to red solo cup cereal?
Cinnamon toast crunch. Cinnamon
Okay.
toast crunch by far my favorite cereal.
Okay. He's a CT Crunch guy. I like it. I
Yeah.
like it.
What
I'm
about you?
Apple Jackson Crunch Berry.
Okay.
Apple
Have,
Jackson Crunch Berries. I do fuck with some CT Crunch. It's very good. It
have
is.
you ever had
And
like the waffle toast crunch
I've
where they
had
come
the
with all the
waffle
different
toast crunch. I tried the
French
Tres
toast?
Leches CT Crunch. That one was a little much. That was like I don't look like somebody who would be turned off by an excessive level of sweetness, but I found the barrier, right?
It's
But
funny you say that because I think like Apple Jacks is just way too sweet.
oh yeah, no, the Tres Leches CT Crunch was whoa.
Okay.
Whoa. I grew up being able to just like pick a cereal out of the aisle and just go with it. So
You're lucky.
I was a very fortunate child apparently. I'll have to tell my mom. I can go down the aisle and I know which ones I like and I know which ones I'm just like, ugh. And I also know which ones I miss, like the ones that aren't there anymore. You remember Rice Krispie Treats cereal?
I do. I didn't like it.
Oh, it was so good. I wish it was still here. And
Yeah.
that could be like, it was so good to me in like 94, and now it would taste like shit. I don't
Yeah.
know, but I still like Rice Krispie treats. So I'm assuming I would still like it as a cereal. But like every now and then some golden grams are great, little sugar smacks. Like I'm a result of, like, I'm not diabetic and I'm lucky. Because man, they really tried. They tried to get me to that type 2 circle, baby. They tried hard
Yeah.
with all that cereal.
Those Kellogg's brothers, like they really tried to fuck the entire country over, and they did for a lot of people. I wonder if like diabetes is linked, or if there's some type of correlation for people who like cereal or who regularly ate cereal. And is that, where diabetes lands? Is like, it's like, oh, it's all Kellogg's and Post's and General Mills' faults on that stuff. But I don't know. Who knows? Maybe my conspiracy is just going a little too far on that. It's funny though, because like the Rice Krispie treats, just to talk about that a little bit, that was one of the cereals that I was like, oh my God, you're gonna buy that for me? Awesome. Because I love Rice Krispie treats. Rice Krispie treats is probably still one of the best dessert type snack meal things that I'll be like, oh, cool. If it's good, love it. There's been times where I've just like been bored and I'll make my own type of Rice Krispie treat at home. But yeah, that cereal just tasted like frosted shit to me. It just wasn't in my preference at
That's
all.
because you were so used to eco bran flakes and flavorless zeros.
Yeah, like I would
Yeah.
savor the light glaze of sugar on Kix cereal, even though there wasn't really a whole lot of it on there. I was like, ah, oh, God, I like the sweetness in this. Other times I'd have to put like raisins or some shit in my cereal just to make it palatable and just, like, oh, I'll enjoy this because there's a little bit of sweetness from the raisins. But yeah, that's how bad my cereal experience was as a kid.
Never bananas, though. Never bananas.
Bananas in there as well, but blueberries. But like, yeah, once I started mixing all that shit together, it was like blueberries are fine by themselves, but once you start putting this milk and shit on there, like, nah, sorry,
You
not a
fucking
fan.
healthy people. I'll never understand it.
I don't know, man. Definitely not healthy because I would eat, at least 5 or 6 solo cups of cereal, so it's not super healthy,
It's
but
5 or 6 solo cups of straight CT crunch.
yeah,
So my
which is
God is
still
just
awesome.
like taking shots of cinnamon sugar. Have you ever made Rice Krispie treats with a non Rice Krispie cereal?
Absolutely,
I don't know if it's
absolutely.
my top three. Got to be Fruity Pebbles as a Rice Krispie treat, Cocoa Pebbles as a Rice Krispie treat, or CT Crunch as a Rice Krispie treat.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch, absolutely. I don't like the taste of cancer with the Fruity Pebbles cereal, so like it's not a big, not a big
Why
fan
does it taste like cancer, Dan?
because it tastes unnatural from this earth, and it's not good for you.
I mean, bro, come on. It's all the colors
I'm
of the
not
rainbow.
coming on anything.
All those
I'm not.
colors are natural. All of them.
Yeah,
All of them.
natural in space, I guess.
Yeah, I mean they're
That's
from
what the
bedrock.
aliens are trying to feed
They're
us
from
because they want us
bedrock.
to die.
Oh man. So we've talked about our arc and our continuing love of breakfasty type things.
A lot. We
Maybe
talked
that's
about
why
that a
we
lot.
watch this. Maybe that's why
Yeah.
we watch this movie and we're excited about it. Did you have high expectations going in?
I thought it was going to be funny just because of the cast that was involved. There were so many people that I like as comedic individuals. Jim Gaffigan, I'll watch anything that Jim Gaffigan is in. I figure, I'm not a big Jerry fan, but I knew that his take on a lot of things, and I knew he was heavily involved in this movie. I was like, okay, I'm going to appreciate this type of humor. And yeah, there was a ton of people in here, so that was my expectation. I was going to have a good time, laugh, and that was it. What about you?
I jumped in because it was Jerry and Serial. I'm like, I mean, this seems like an extension of Seinfeld. And I didn't look at the cast list or watch a preview before I turned it on.
Really? Okay.
Did not. Just you know, I mentioned it to you. You were like, "Yup," and I was just like, "Perfect. It's on Netflix. I can just watch it tonight."
Really, you were just like, I could go for some fucking cereal right now.
Yo, I
That's
was
what you were
out.
thinking.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. I went to the pantry this morning and I'm like, fudge.
Not fudge is really
No,
what you
no, but
had.
now
So
now I get the now you get the best experience, right? Is you either pick up the regulars or you take a magical walk down a cereal aisle and pick something special, which is what I'm gonna do.
I always avoid the cereal aisle because I just don't give a shit. There's really nothing that really
It sounds like you
piques
have
my
some
interest.
PTSD. Like if you see an off-brand Cheerio, I think that you cry.
I'm okay with off-brand stuff because it's essentially the same thing, just private labeled for the grocery store for the most part. There's two aisles in the grocery store that I kind of just like, meh. Number one is the cereal aisle, and number
Yeah.
two is the cleaning goods aisle. I was like, I don't need to go down those aisles. Nah. If
Oh,
you know what, if they were to combine those two aisles, I would be completely happy with that because then I know I could go down every other aisle, even the coffee aisle. I don't drink coffee. I love the smell of coffee down a coffee aisle.
I will say I go to the grocery store maybe once a month, if that, because I am all about the pickup. And sometimes you lose the benefit of just the browse, which is the cereal aisle is one of the few ones that's fun to just do the browse and be like, what's striking me for this round?
I mean, there's times where like my kids will want to get cereal or something, so I'll begrudgingly go down that aisle. But
Oh man, you'll pick up your pride and just grind it down the cereal aisle with all the happy characters and sugary goodness.
what is your version of the plot of this movie? Because as bananas as this movie is, I'm wondering if your version of the plot is as bananas or is it like more simplified?
So I think the plot of this movie was very clear from the beginning. We need to beat the Postons or the posters or Amy Schumer to the shelves with the special pastry yummies. And we are going to do a full on Oppenheimer spoof to get there.
Oppenheimer revolving around Pop Tarts. Interesting.
I mean, there was so many like movie references in there. Oppenheimer's one, right? Because they did the whole testing and the NASA testing, and yeah,
Fucking
there's so
Steve
many.
Schwinn died. I love the fact that they make fun of everything and they talk about how sugar is so bad for you. James Marsden as Jack
Yeah,
LaLanne.
the Jack LaLanne, the
Hilarious, man.
free ball
The
and Jack LaLanne is
the
great.
fact that he was saying like, "Oh, sugar's poison. That's why we're coming up with new high fructose corn syrup." And they're like, "Oh, yes. All right, fantastic." Like, yeah, it's that type of humor that I like. The cleverness to it, the subtle jabs or not so subtle jabs at like, yeah, all this stuff is really bad, but we're going to come up with something better.
I mean, there were so many good little drop-ins, though. I mean, it's just even as they led up to it, right? The whole award show that they owned. The, I'm just crushing up Twinkies and putting them in a toothpaste tube. Like, what a great way to eat a Twinkie.
Did you think that this movie was factual as you were watching it? Like, oh, maybe they're just really elaborating and exaggerating what actually happened. Did you think that that was the case?
No, was it semi-factual?
I mean, semi-factual in the sense that Kellogg's versus Post. But yeah, no, I actually was questioning, like, holy shit, like, is this actually based on like the race for Pop Tarts? And did they actually do some of this shit? And then when they brought out like the panel of like Tom Carvel, Jack LaLanne, Steve Schwinn, I was like, okay, there's no
Yeah,
fucking way that
Boyardee.
the yeah, Boyardee, there's no fucking way this is possible. And then it really cemented the fact when there was a live ravioli. From what I'm hearing so far, you like the movie. There's been a lot of negative reviews about this movie, and even Richard Roper was talking trash about it. And like I saw a few other articles that they were just saying that this movie lacks any taste whatsoever. And very indicative of the title Unfrosted because this movie sucks. And so I was like, whoa, whoa. I thought it was like the complete opposite. I thought it was very clever. I thought it was very funny. I thought there were just numerous quips. And so do people just not like comedy and like satire anymore?
I would say no. I mean, look how bad they ripped Ace Ventura when it first came out, right? Like people just
But
don't.
that I could see that though,
The
like
movie was
that
amazing from the first viewing on. Shut up.
it's hilarious. It's hilarious, but I could see why someone's like, Pet Detective, this is stupid. Like I thought the same thing until my brother was like, you need to watch this. My older brother, who was I believe he was college age and I was like around fifth grade or sixth grade or something. And he's like, you need to watch this. It's funny, I promise. And I was like, I don't like Jim Carrey, and he fucking looks like a stupid idiot. And sure enough, I liked
You
it.
know, laces out, laces out,
Yeah.
baby. I will say that very rarely does a movie that goes for laughs in the way that this movie does get good reviews. So I'm not like upset that it got terrible reviews. It's not like cinema. There's a reason that this was just released to Netflix, right? It's a fun romp. It's minimal sets with some fun people working together, you know, and that's about it, right? Like who doesn't if you look at the cast list, how many of them are doing it for the payday? How many of them are doing it to just be able to fuck with Seinfeld, right? Like it's just fun.
So the reviews, I was kind of shocked by some of the reviews, but you got 5.6 for IMDb, 40% for Rotten Tomatoes, so it is rotten, and then 43 on Metacritic. Once again, Metacritic, still not sure of where you kind of lie within everything. But IMDb, I was a little bit surprised. I was thinking it might be like the mid sixes on that, just because, like, yes, I know this movie's not for everyone, but I just found it very surprising. Like 5.6 is usually like a take it or leave it type of movie. And I thought that this was just a little bit more than that. And just from the comedic perspective, and I just thought the humor was kind of funny and clever that it would kind of up that ranking to the sixes. But I'm wrong.
I look at this movie in the same vein that I look at like a Walk Hard or a Spinal Tap or anything like that. Like it's almost a mockumentary. It's satire masquerading as history, and as soon as you stop expecting it to be like compelling and just let the jokes be funny, it makes it so much better.
There's a fine line between accepting the ridiculousness and turning your brain off. So we had a comment on one of our shorts or videos that they were talking about like these people are probably just those types of people that just say, "Hey, if you shut your brain off, you'll enjoy the movie." By the way, I've said that on multiple DC viewings, but I think that's a different way to interpret a movie or kind of accept and view a movie is there's a difference between like let the jokes be funny and don't expect too much. I wasn't looking at this movie and thinking like, oh, I don't expect a whole lot from this movie, so I'll just sit back and enjoy it. I thought, oh, I think I'm gonna like this movie, and then when I realized like what the plot and the premise was about, like, oh, this is kind of clever. I like this type of humor and the way that they're applying this, and it's an interesting topic because let's be honest, how fascinating a topic is the race for Pop Tarts? It's not. But the way that they do this is just very clever and very funny.
For old school like Funny or Die,
Yeah.
where they do almost like not a full movie, but not just like a little short. That's how I looked at it. Like once I saw the cast list and just people keep popping in, Hugh Grant as Tony the Tiger. Like
Hilarious.
I'm just like, okay, let's go. Let's just have fun.
And that's exactly what they did. They even
Yeah.
brought in like storming the Capitol because
Oh,
you
dude.
had Tony the
Like,
Tiger with the Viking horns on there. Funny as hell.
I mean, let's talk about these cameos. Let's talk about these celebrities. Like, who stuck out to you? Because I don't know that we have time or just the gumption to read the excessive cast list here because they're all like quality players. But what stuck out to you?
My favorite is James Marsden as Jack LaLanne. I just
Yeah.
thought he was hilarious. And the fact that he really portrayed Jack LaLanne as, his interpretation of him, because that's what Jack LaLanne was. He was basically just like this dude who liked to show off and flex his biceps. That's all that he did. And I read up a little bit more on Jack LaLanne after the fact, just because, like, oh yeah, it's been a while since I really read about this guy. And he did, you know what he did is supposedly he did 1,000 push-ups in like 22 minutes. Fascinating story, but I do not see any video of that. So I'm like, how were those form of push-ups? Like how was it?
I mean, 22 minutes of film would have been very expensive just for Jack LaLanne push-ups.
Yeah, right. But he did it on a TV show. I think it was his TV show, but he did it. Yeah, he was like number one to me. James Marsden's Jack LaLanne. Two was, ooh, it's kind of a tie, but I'm gonna give the edge to Bill Burr as JFK. Holy shit! Like I thought his JFK was like spot on. Bill Burr-esque delivery as JFK was just delightful.
I will say that Bill Burr absolutely was the best to me, hands down. But you've got to give, and the one part of this movie when it started to spiral a little bit, and I didn't catch like they said it, but I didn't expect it, right? I didn't expect to see JFK, and I didn't expect it to be Bill Burr. Bill Burr was great. But the fact that they got John Slattery and John Hamm to come in and basically do Mad Men
Yeah,
for
that was
this
good.
movie, I think my wife was the most excited person ever because she loved that show, at least the early part of it before it got all crazy. I was just like, "Are you fucking kidding me? This is amazing!" Like that was the part where it's just like over the top. We're in it now. There wasn't anybody that really like bothered me from any of the other like cameos. I thought it was funny that Dan Levy showed up as Andy Warhol later to just
Yeah.
kill him, right, or to shoot him. But I thought that everybody really fit. Everybody worked together well. It's good to see Amy Schumer like doing some things again,
Is it?
doing the back and forth. I like Amy Schumer. Don't
I
be a
I'm
hater.
not hating. I'm just it's like I don't think anyone has ever said it's nice to see Amy Schumer. You're like, ugh. No,
I
it's
I
I don't know.
appreciate Amy Schumer. I think she's funny. I like
I mean, she is funny because she takes so many jokes from people. That's why.
maybe that's why I feel that way about Melissa McCarthy, and I'm just like, oh, it's a Melissa McCarthy thing. I like her.
I like Melissa McCarthy's characters. You can OD on Melissa McCarthy, but I find her funny. The other thing that I was surprised to see is your favorite wife of Tom Cruise, Bobby Moynihan. Throwback to the episode. I don't know if anyone remembers that one or for any of the listeners, but there's a previous episode where you had said Moynihan, and I was like Bobby Moynihan, and it was something about Mission Impossible with Tom Cruise, and you had said Moynihan when it was Michelle Monaghan as the
Yeah,
character. So as
that
I was
that's
watching this, I was like, hey, Tom Cruise's wife. There you go, Bobby
it's an honest
Moynihan.
mistake, man. There's just I've watched way more SNL than I have anything with that actress in it. And there's a reason she's not in this movie because Bobby Moynihan is obviously superior as the
He
Boyardee, which like I'm gonna say like the second funniest chef in a movie ever. The second funniest.
are you like the Swedish Chef, like number one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I did I did appreciate all that stuff. Is Tom Carvel hated? That's something that I didn't understand. I
I
didn't do
don't
any.
know, but I don't care. It was fine with me.
It
Like,
no, it was funny. It was funny, but I was just wondering, like, wow, do people just really shit on Tom Carvel? That's the only thing that was like, huh. I was more curious about all of these people, and I guess maybe that's a nice way to kind of just get people to revisit some of the old figures and food history, or even just history in general about stuff. Because Steve Schwinn, I know he didn't explode testing out Pop Tarts, but I thought it was funny. I think we could say though that Hugh Grant is probably the best performance out of everything. right?
I mean, definitely the most refined. Though Hugh Grant with the mustache, I don't know how I feel about it.
Like Thurl Ravenscroft is a real person. He did do the voice of Tony the Tiger. Yeah, obviously he didn't lead a storm on Kellogg's or Post or wherever the fuck they were at, but still funny.
And Thurl Ravenscroft had that terrible mustache, so that's why he had to have the mustache. The mustache played in that because yeah, and apparently he's named after a Harry Potter house, so that should be exciting for
You're
I don't
thinking of
know.
Ravenclaw, not Ravencroft.
I don't care.
Any other favorite bits?
The kids in the dumpster just putting stuff together. When you eat from a dumpster, you just make it work. You work with what you have.
The kids were actually kind of clever. I liked the Tang reference. I don't know what it was because Tang was like a big part of my childhood. So when he had said like it's got a bit of a tang to it, and then Melissa McCarthy's character's like, oh, it's a good name. I was like, yes, yes, it is a good name because that's what it was. So it's like that's why it's
Oh
funny.
man.
That's why
See,
it's
that's
funny.
where you and I differ. You drank Tang. I was on the Ecto Cooler bandwagon. Uh,
I don't think I ever had Ecto Cooler purchased for me. I think I always got it from someone who was just kind enough to realize, like, I think this kid's going to starve to death, so I think I'm just going to give him my Ecto Cooler for lunch. That was that was very nice. So,
oh man. For the record, they re-released it like I don't know when the terrible Ghostbusters movie came out. Um, the one that we shall not speak of, which coincidentally had Melissa McCarthy in it. Not as good as you remember. Should have left it in the past.
fair enough. And like it tasted good. It looked cool. But if you think about it, that had a longer shelf life than it really should have. Because
Yeah.
that was so popular for like 15 years, it seemed like.
Oh yeah.
And there wasn't a Ghostbusters movie within like earshot of like 8 years of that. So
I mean, but
but
there
yeah.
were cartoons, right? You know, there were
Not new ones. It was all
no,
old shit. So it
no,
was
there
like
wasn't. There
they just
wasn't.
kept on going. Ecto cooler, ecto cooler.
Mm.
And then someone must have like really fucked up to where there's like,
Eh,
yeah, ecto cooler's not performing. We better take it off the shelves. And I was like, what? Huh? What?
yeah, or they lost the license. Like
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
that's the only
probably
thing I
more
can think of
logical.
because I remember after, or for some reason, I don't know why I know this, but it's like it's a very similar flavor to their like tangerine flavor. Um,
It
you'd
was a
think that it'd be
citrus
green.
flavored
Yeah,
cooler, so
yeah. So it's like totally tangerine or something like that. It's the same thing. Nobody cares about tangerine, I see. They only care about the ecto cooler.
So one of the other bits that I found hilarious when uh, Cabana goes to recruit Stan on the moon movie shoot or whatever they were doing right there. It's like you don't think we're really going to the moon, do you? Do you? It's like no, no, we're not. It's so funny to me, and like over the years, like, do you feel like we went to the moon, or do you think we just shot that shit on the soundstage?
I am I'm gonna part with the flat earthers and say we went to the moon. And I'm gonna tell you why. For us to have all the information about satellites and getting things there and all of that stuff, like I could see America in the 60s when they did it, doing it solely for the reason of dick measure to beat the Soviets somewhere because we were all just hysteria around that. And if you listen to like Neil deGrasse Tyson talk about it, and they're like, "Why haven't we gone back to the moon?" He's like, "We've been there. Wasn't really anything good there. We don't need to like. It's a waste of time."
Yeah.
So I feel like we did
Okay.
it, and we were like, "Oh, yeah, this place is as barren as it looked through that telescope." And we dropped a couple more people. Like maybe we'll find a good spot. Nope, nothing. We're out. We got some
I
funky rocks.
Part of me thinks and is becoming more of a believer that that shit was just on a soundstage somewhere. Like I think we went there and then the footage just wasn't like, okay, well we got to do something to make it seem like a much bigger deal. I'm not saying I totally 100% believe that, but I'm more open to that thought. Whatever works for me. I definitely don't think that the Earth is flat. I don't think that there's more of a conspiracy to it. I think it's just, hey, maybe this stuff was shot on a soundstage. Are you team Post or team Kellogg's based off of their current roster of cereals? So let's talk about like we'll talk about some of the heavy hitters for Kellogg's. You got Apple Jacks, which is your favorite, right? You got Rice Krispies, Frosted Flakes, Special K, Frosted Mini Wheats, Fruit Loops, and then you got Post. They've got Fruity Pebbles, Grape Nuts. I don't know. I still haven't had Grape Nuts, and I've always been curious about what they taste like. Cocoa Pebbles, Waffle Crisp, Chips Ahoy is part of that brand. Honey Bunches of Oats, Honeycomb. Honeycomb was a cereal that was if I was fortunate enough to have that, that was kind of cool. Um, Shredded wheat. They did not have a frosted version of their shredded wheat, and Raisin Bran. So kind of just based off of that. I mean, where do you land? Do you go with your favorite just because it's Apple Jacks with Kellogg's?
See, you're not mentioning where one of my other favorites sits, and that's with the Quakers and some Captain Crunch. So it makes it difficult. I'll tell you this: I'm 100% no on Post. Even though I'm a
So
big
you're
Oreos
Kellogg's.
fan, I in those two I'm Kellogg's. But
That's the
I mean,
question.
if
That's
you
the
made me pick
question.
between Apple Jacks and Captain Crunch, I might go with the Quakers. And I'm just representing because they did the Quakers pretty dirty in this.
I thought it was
Plain oats, and
hilarious.
that's all.
That was hilarious the way that they did
It
that
was. It
because
really
yeah,
was. It really was. But yeah, absolutely Kellogg's, Fruit Loops, Apple Jacks, Frosted Flakes. Let's go. Get your mini wheats away from me.
that's still Team Kellogg's. So I
I
mean,
know that's what I'm saying. I said Team Kellogg's. What about you? Are you does the terrible well, you already told me that Fruity Pebbles was basically cancer.
it tastes
So
like cancer. Yeah,
I'm
probably.
just gonna assume that you're not gonna go Post, but just like normal, when we think you're gonna do something or enjoy something, you absolutely shit on it. So the hypocrisy is strong in this podcast. So where do you sit?
So Fruity Pebbles taste like cancer, but also so do Fruit Loops. So there's
Oh,
it tastes like cleaner and or cancer. So one of the two. Not a big fan. But I mean, Rice Krispies by itself kind of sucks. Like just not good. Put
yeah.
some marshmallows up in that bitch. Yeah, you got a nice, tasty Rice Krispie treat. So that in itself could defeat Post by itself. I liked Special K. Special K Red Berries was good because I'm a strawberry fan.
Yo,
So
you if you like kicks with blueberries, Special K with red berries, we need to get you some fucking crunch berries. Nom, 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 nom.
I've had those and I was like, eh. So I think it's like my adult palate knowing that unless there's like some type of dehydrated fruit in there, like I'll probably just be like, this isn't as good as I remembered or that I thought it was going to be. I will say, frosted mini wheats taste okay, even if I'm just eating it dry. So yeah, I'll go Team Kellogg's all the way because that is the question. I'm not going to bring up General Mills. I think General Mills will by far crush any cereal competition from Post or Kellogg's,
Will it?
but between the two, it's Kellogg's for sure. I mean, if you want to look up General
I
Mills
mean,
right now,
you're just saying that for CT Crunch.
well, that's all that I need. That's all that you need is the fact that you have a juggernaut cereal like that. And then you got to remember, you got Honey Nut Cheerios, all the other fucking Cheerios that other people like. I mean, Cheerios
All
is
the other.
cereal,
I mean, you do got
right?
some Cocoa Puffs, some tricks that are supposed to be for kids, some Lucky
Trix
Charms.
also Trix is General Mills' answer to cancer tasting cereal.
Oh man, you are absolutely the
I'm
Lord.
I'm not gonna say I didn't eat them.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I was at like one of those continental breakfasts and they have like those little boxes of cereal that I couldn't get at home because my mom wouldn't buy them, you bet your fucking ass I'm gonna grab one of those boxes and try out those cereals that I never had the privilege of having in my own home. Team General Mills all the way for that stuff, just based off of the Cheerios and the Honey Nut Cheerios specifically, and Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Yeah, I'm probably going to go with you there. Like General Mills, if they were brought up, would have absolutely ass kicked this movie, and nobody gives a shit.
Yeah,
And
right.
they also have the most innovative new breakfast item. I don't know if you were and they're not like brand new, like they just came out. But do you remember when milk and cereal bars came out?
No.
which was basically like a big pseudo Rice Krispie treat of cereal with a little bit of frosting on the bottom, or like a little bit of like a yogurt dip to make it seem like it was in
Wait,
cereal.
what did you just say?
A yogurt dip. That was a reference to your favorite Christmas movie that you absolutely hate.
Oh, okay. That's probably why I didn't get it.
Yeah, yeah.
But you do pronounce it. How do
It's
you actually
yogurt.
pronounce it?
It's
Okay, all
yogurt.
right. I just want to make sure.
The
I
yogurt
just
dip
wanted to
was
make sure.
100% an Easter egg for very specific listeners that'll get it. But thanks for trying to
Fantastic.
call me out. Thanks for trying to
I
Moynihan me, you dick.
I'm just, there is a recurring theme on this podcast. I just wanted to make sure we didn't lose an opportunity to to highlight that.
Mm.
So I wanted to keep it on brand for you. So, um, but
Yeah, yeah, no.
yeah, I don't know. Like that's maybe I had them. I don't know. Maybe. I think the last thing that I had that somewhat resembles that is like a Chex bar, like a Chex Mix bar, where it's like, the cereal and then there's a little bit of
Yeah.
yogurt, as you would
Little
say,
yogurt on the
or
bottom. Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's,
Yeah,
is that the same thing that you're talking
yeah,
about
the
or
same
no?
thing. Same thing. They started with Cheerios, and then they did CT Crunch, and now there's a bunch of different ones
Okay.
um, that are pretty solid, pretty
Those are
yummy.
good. Those are
Definitely,
good.
definitely gateway to diabetes, I'm sure, but
I'll take
tasty.
that over cereal and a bowl of milk any day because
I'm not. I'm sure you will. Speaking of
uh,
which, have you ever put cereal in some yogurt?
yes, and it was okay. I think I took like some granola and there's some type of granola type cereal and put it in there. It happened by accident, I think. I think it was at like one of those
Oops.
continental breakfasts, and I was like eating my cereal dry from the box, and then a little bit of cereal spilled into my yogurt. I was like, huh. I was like, oh, it's got a nice little crunch. Like,
It's crunchy now.
yeah, it's like, 10-year-old me is like, oh, this is good. But yeah, whatever.
Oh man, I
Is
love
that
it.
like a religious
No, I
experience for
was just
you or?
thinking of your dairy hate. I wouldn't be surprised if you pulled something random out, like, oh, I don't eat it with milk, but I do love it on some yogurt.
Yeah, no, it's not so much. But I did like yogurt as a kid, so it wasn't like dairy hating altogether. I just milk sucks, man. It's just as people think that it's gross for Luke to chug milk from whatever animal on The Last Jedi. Like, I think it's
Yeah,
gross that humans just by the bowl full just pour a bunch of fucking milk on some cereal, make it all soggy, and just eat it that way. Like, meh, not for
okay,
me.
okay. So let me ask you this: since we're on the cereal and it was in the movie, do you have a favorite cereal box prize?
What was the cereal for the California raisins?
Raisin
Was it just
Bran?
raisin? Was it just raisin bran? Was that's
I
what it was?
believe so.
So that would have been my favorite prize. So like I remember getting the California raisins inside the raisin bran boxes. So that was pretty sweet.
Nice, nice, nice. I don't have a specific one that I remember. I just remember there always being something there, and now there's not. Like they took them away, as far as I know.
Yeah, because it's a choking hazard because some idiot like they call that out in the movie. Like some stupid kid ate it. Oh God, well, it was a funny joke afterwards too, because like what was it that Jim Gaffigan said? It's like, oh, they'll find its way out. It's like they're definitely gonna shit that out. But yeah,
oh yeah, no, I know what you
it's still silly to me that the FDA has certain bannings, cereal prizes included, because there's a lot of stuff that my wife, who's from Ireland, says like, "Wait, why are these things banned? Why are there no toys in cereals?" Like, it's a choking hazard. Like, what the fuck kind of bullshit is that? She says it in her own Irish way, but I'm just paraphrasing for us Americans, for us who speak American. I'm paraphrasing,
Yeah, apparently we got
but
a lot of dumb kids. I do remember fondly as a child being able to max my way to the prize in the cereal box. So thought I'd bring it up because is when they did the one of my favorite scenes in the movie is when they did the funeral um for Schwinn, and they did
Yeah.
it cereal style.
That was great. That was great.
And they folded up the tattoo prizes or whatever, right? Like the whole thing was so amazing.
The fact that the grieving widow is like, "Did you set this up?" He's like, "I don't know. I'm not
And
sure."
this is just the people do this. This is a normal thing.
Full serial honors. Oh,
Oh man.
fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, that
Did
was,
anything Martha you in this movie? Was there anything that was so egregious that you were just like, ah, Martha?
I think it's got to be the storming the Capitol bit. Like it was funny,
Oh,
but it's
really?
just like, oh, you're bringing, I don't know, that or the silly putty. The silly putty I thought was fucking hilarious. The whole bit that they did for I'm trying to remember the name of the announcer that they parodied for Walter Cronkite was
Cronkite, yeah.
hilarious.
It wasn't, yeah, yeah, it was that was good. That was good. I can
Yeah,
drink whatever I want. That's so good.
I know. I honestly I don't think I had a Martha moment in this. There was so much that I thought was great. I'll tell you the moment that didn't Martha me that I was like, oh, that's such a deep cut reference is when they all met at Barzini's, which I'm like 95% of the way that was a Goodfellas reference or a casino reference.
Hmm. I guess I missed that one.
Where that's where all the five families of cereal met. I
Oh, yeah, yeah, I could
really
see.
I yeah, I'm pretty sure Barzini's was a reference to Casino.
So the part there's nothing that really Martha'd me, but the part that had me at the closest, like on the brink of it, was that ravioli shit. Like the live ravioli, the sea monkey ravioli. Like, what the fuck is this? This is fucking bananas and ridiculous. And the fact that Bobby Moynihan was involved with it, because I'm not a huge Bobby Moynihan fan. I like a good chunk of like his bits on SNL and his performances, and he can sometimes get on my nerves. So the fact that you have a live ravioli and Bobby Moynihan acting as a ridiculous Chef Boyardee, I was like, I could do without this. At least that particular scene where it was introduced. But yeah, that was it. That was the closest.
That was one where I'm just like, yeah, this is the really silly part, but I'm just letting it go.
Yeah, it was
Just
silly,
letting it
that
go.
for sure. But hey, that we've talked about a lot of cereal, a lot of silliness. I got a question for you. When it comes to this movie, Unfrosted, can you do this all day?
I struggle with this question because I love the references. It makes me want to eat some cereal. I like so many of the cast, but I don't know if this is something I'm going back to the well on. Like, I don't know if this is something where I'm like, I'm going to turn on Netflix and watch Unfrosted because I don't think I will. I don't see me adding this to my comedy rotation. Feel like there are better things there, but I don't want my $8 back. Like, I don't feel like it was a waste of time. It was funny in the moment. It was enjoyable. I'm happy that it's there, but I cannot do it all day. What about you? Can you do this all day? Is this added to the collection? You buying it on DVD?
I'm definitely not buying it. There's very few movies that I'll actually buy nowadays. But I will say I was really pleasantly surprised by this movie. Something that I can kind of compare it to is just the nonstop comedic quips of Top Secret or like Naked Gun, where it's just like one after another. So many of them that you'll miss out on something because you'll laugh at a previous bit. So I think, I loved a lot of the characters. I love the lunacy and the satirical portrayal of them. Jack LaLanne being the best, and a new appreciation for James Marsden because good God, that guy got in shape for this movie. I don't know if he stays in that shape for Sonic the Hedgehog, but he definitely got in shape for this one. But yeah, it's like I agree with you in the sense that I don't know if I'll necessarily keep this in my rotation per se, but I think that this film gets a bum rap from a lot of the critics that are out there, and just this movie's just not for them. This movie is for someone like me that when it comes to a comedy movie that quip after quip after quip. You can watch it again, and I did watch it again to get like a fresh take on things or a different perspective on where some of the humor is coming from. So I think this is something that you can have a rewatchability factor that is fairly strong because there's so many people, so many different jokes, and I thought it was just well done. I thought the chemistry was really good with the different comedic actors that are in the movie. So while it's definitely not a Ricky Stenicki in my book to where I'll watch it like 5 times within the matter of like a week. But this is something that I will say it'll be on like the lower part of the scale, but I'll say I could do this all day. Funny movie, entertaining, and a great comedic look at something so ridiculous as Pop Tarts. So yeah, right up my alley.
I'm not surprised, but I'm glad. I'm glad that somebody can do this all day. You'll have to start leaving reviews to bring up the total or bring up the
Yeah,
average.
nah, I won't do that. You know where they can
Average.
get my reviews? Here on the I Can Do This All Day podcast, because we do this every single week for 2+ years, have not missed an episode. So you know where to get my opinions, movie fans. And until next time, I'm Dan the Part-Time Avenger. That's Mark the Resident Jedi.
Like and subscribe because we do this every week. And don't be like Dan. Respect the Milk Syndicate. Put it on your cereal.
We'll see you next time.